Stray is my favourite game of 2022. On the surface, it seems like an adorable story about a cat who loses her way and her journey back home to her family, but it turns out it's a deeper story about humans and the commentary on society. Today I'm going to share with you the story of Stray, and I'm going to ask and try to answer some of my questions from this incredible game. Where are all the humans? Why are the robots so human-like? And why did we need to build this underground city in the first place? The game starts with Lara keeping dry during a storm with her family, and yes, I've called the cat Lara Croft, and I will offer no more context as to why. This is our first look into the surface world of Stray, and we can see that the world seems abandoned, the natural flora of the earth taking over the abandoned surface. Although we don't see much fauna, the presence of the cats and insects shows us a healing earth. As our cat family heads out to explore the world, disaster strikes, and Lara falls from a loose pipe down a large chasm, being separated from her family. Now thank God cats have 9 lives, ensuring that Lara survives, finding herself in the outskirts in the dump of an underground city. Lara travels down the only path that's open to her, constantly followed by the cameras, while herself following the signs asking for help. We meet another organism down here, small pinkish creatures with a malevolent bright orange eye, which chases us through the city, pushing us deeper inside. Eventually we break into someone's flat and find the source of what opened the blast door and showed us all the help signs. A consciousness trapped in a computer wanting us to help it find a suitable body. Once you help the consciousness, we leave the flat and reach the slums, where all the robots scatter and hide, thinking that you're a Zerk coming to devour them. It's here that we start to see signs that human life may have been present in the slums, whether it's a reference to the soft ones, the plant life being maintained by Roshi, or the graffiti saying RIP humans. B12 asking, "What do you think it feels to be dead?" is a very human question that we all ask ourselves at least once in our lifetimes. To me, this question suggests a human mind within a machine. What do you think? The main story in this area is to gather the 3 diaries, give them to Momo to repair his transceiver, but as we explore the slums, we see the communal nature of all the robots, or companions as they're called in the world of Stray. From the bar, to the computer geek, to the little old lady that knits for the community, all these connections show a deeper AI, almost to a human level. The roof is a very small bridging level in Stray. The main aim is to attach the transmitter to the tallest tower to allow communication with the whole city to make contact with Momo's friends, Doc, Svalbard and Clementine. While here we see a memory that gives us a better understanding of what the Zerks are and where they come from, showing that humans were meddling with genetics. We then head back to the slums. The second section in the slums is about using the transmitter and trying to make contact with Momo's friends. We speak to Svalbard and we're overheard by Seamus in the bar, who turns out to be the son of Doc, who explains that it's very dangerous to leave the slums. The interesting part is, what could it mean that Seamus is Doc's son? They couldn't mean in the traditional sense, could they? Or have the robots made their own adopted families? Seamus reluctantly helps us find the weapon and sends us through to the dead end where his father was last seen going. We find his father, who fixes our weapon, and we both make our way back to the slums. You can see the strength of their bond when Doc comes back to the slums and reunites with his son before we head off to the sewers. In the sewers, we're given an insight into the Zerks. We get a brief glimpse of a larger organism. Could it be a mother of the Zerks? Or do they produce like yeast and bud off one another? We finally arrive at Ant Village, which really drives the story of our friend B12. We're told that B12 wasn't a helper of the scientist, but was the actual scientist himself. This makes me think that all the companions we see in the game are actually the humans themselves, the human conscious transferred into the machine body. This would align with what we see when we first see B12 and the vessel, which I'm assuming contained the human body and the lifeless companion body on the chair next to it. A note on the wall in the slums tells us the companions were built a long time ago and have had the soul for a long time too, but what we don't know is when that timescale humans died. Was Seamus Doc's son before the consciousness was transferred to the companion's body? In the Ant Village, we meet Svaltzar, who gives us a picture of Clementine with her address on the back and sends us on our merry way to Midtown. On our way, we come across a subway which unlocks another one of B12's memories, using the subway after saying goodbye to his family to head to work. Could B12's family still be in this underground world somewhere, looking for him? When we enter Midtown, the first thing we see is somebody running being chased by an airborne machine before being caught by another companion. My favourite pastime in this particular area is tripping up the companions. Truly endless hours of fun. Here we meet Clementine, who shares with us her plans to use the old subway to escape. All we need is an atomic battery. Clementine sends us to meet her contact Blazer by the Nico Corporation entrance. He asks us to steal a worker's hat and a worker's jacket. This allows us to sneak into the factory and steal the battery and make our way back to Clementine's flat. But here we see that her building is cordoned off and that the little flying robots are swarming the place. Once we get to her flat, we find Clementine missing, but she's left us clues dotted around her flat telling us where she is. I'm with Blazer, come to the nightclub. We rush our little paws over to the nightclub to find out that we've been double crossed by Blazer and we end up in jail. Here we find our way back to Clementine to help her escape, and find B12 before we escape together, finding ourselves back at the start of Midtown. We part ways with Clementine never to see her again. We now have all the parts we need to power up the subway to reach the control room. Here we meet some companions who are away from the main city and therefore don't seem to have the same consciousness as the companions below. Is this how companions were intended to be before humans ported their conscience over? Now this is the part of the game that broke me, where we had to say goodbye to our little vitamin B12, who gave the ultimate sacrifice to open the gates and let us out into the open world, and at the same time opening the doors to the cities and letting all the companions do the same. The story of Stray seems to take a strong inspiration from Disney's WALL-E, but shows a bleaker and more dystopian version of the story, while still being heartwarming and showing the adaptability of humans. While WALL-E was about the Earth becoming a wasteland filled with rubbish because of excess consumerism and corporate greed, one never really presented a reason as to why humans had to build these cities in Stray. What happened to the humans is open to interpretation too. Some people assume that humans have indeed been driven to extinction by the plague, and that companions have developed a consciousness to replicate humans. However, I believe that humans have taken advantage of their companions' form and ported their consciousness over. This clearly wasn't without issues, as not all their memories moved over. This can clearly be seen in the case of the scientist and B12. The ending of the game clearly leaves scope for a sequel. What direction do you think they'll take this in if the sequel is made? And on that note, we come to the end of the story of Stray. I hope you've enjoyed my summary and thoughts. Let me know what you think happened to the humans. Until next time.